Welcome back to Spark Me. I'm Michelle Dempsey, and I'm here with
Liz Graham. And we are so excited today. Here we are on a Sunday afternoon. Yes, this is how we spend our weekends recording. And what we're going to do today, which is a little bit different, is we are pulling out some of the nuggets that we learned from our guests, and we are going to explore them as a Spark short. So, with that, Michelle Dempsey is going to talk a little bit about the importance of trusting your gut. And that is something that we learned from our guest, Tracy Salingo, in the very first episode. So, Michelle?
absolutely trusting your gut when your brain tries so hard to talk you out of it, right? So when we're talking to Tracy and she mentioned that, it really, I tried to think of the times in my life. It takes a long time to learn to trust your gut. And one time recently that really resonated with me when I was thinking about that and how that skill gets honed over time and you still sometimes have trouble trusting yourself. Like picture this, it was 10 p.m. I am pulling into my garage at 10 p.m. the night before my plane was to leave at 6 a.m. for a vacation I'd been looking forward to and for a 6-day vacation. And I'm pulling in that lake because work was still kind of bearing down on me. A lot of stuff just, sometimes things all pile up at the same time. So I'm finishing stuff up at work, trying to be ready for this trip. Um, I haven't packed yet. It's 10 o'clock at night. I haven't even started packing for the trip. I have things going on with my kids. I'm, you know, just, I have one kid who maybe any parent out there can relate, who, struggles a little bit more. And if you have a child who struggles in any way, you know what I mean. And it seemed to flare like right as I was getting ready to go on this trip. And I just, instead of feeling excited and full of anticipation and couldn't wait to go, I was sitting in my car with tears running down my eyes, like, trying to figure out like what I was going to do. So I sort of got myself together and I'm like, okay, I just have to figure this out. So I went in and my body wouldn't start packing. I was just sitting on the edge of my bed, just something inside me saying, doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. You're not ready. Like this just, and as I was sitting there, my brain's spinning, kind of going like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I physically couldn't pack. I didn't know what the next step was. My son walked in because he puts his phone in my room at night. He's in high school. He's a senior. And he's like, what's up, mom? I'm like, hey, bud. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out what to do. I haven't started packing for my trip and I'm not sure I'm ready to go. And he looked at me. My son looked at me. It's just so sweet. He's like, Mom, just trust your gut. Your gut is always right. And that like hit me so powerfully in that moment. Like it was just exactly what I needed to hear. Like the skies parted. And I'm like, yeah, what is my gut telling me right now? And I really listened hard. And my gut was telling me you weren't ready right now to go. And and you are not going to enjoy yourself and things have not come together and you need a couple more days to feel like you're ready for this trip. And I just went into action at that moment. I looked it up, I changed my flight. Um I you know just I went into that mode of like, okay, I made a decision. The second I changed my flight, 2 days later, just I thought I need 2 days to get all this stuff together. The second I did that, it was like this huge weight lifted and I felt like lighter again. And I instantly knew I made the right decision.
Right.
And 2 days later, I got on that plane with a smile on my face and everything kind of where it needed to be before I left and ready to have a great time. Now it was a 4-day vacation instead of a 6-day vacation, but I loved those 4 days and it was completely worth it. And I just, I was pushing against my gut. I'm like, I can't possibly change my, it's 10 o'clock. I have to leave at 6 o'clock in the morning. Like it's too late now. All these things kind of working against my brain, telling me not to go with that feeling in my gut. And my son just kind of in that moment saying so clearly what I needed to hear and reminding me like, your gut's not wrong, mom. It's never wrong. And you have to listen. And it's hard because you're like, is it right? Is it wrong? Is this what I should do? Like, is there, but it's there, Liz. That kernel is always there. You really do know if you can get through the noise what you should do. And so I ended up having a great time and taking care of everything that needed to be done before I left. And I was a that was a cool moment. And that's something that resonated with me after Tracy's episode, that like that idea of trusting your gut is so important. And the older you get, I think the more honed you get at doing it. Like I trust my gut more now than when I was in my 20s, let's say, right? Because
Yeah.
experience.
I think that
And
that's so true. I mean, I think as you get older, you you have had that life experience to say, yeah, when in doubt, go with your gut, right? And I am so impressed that your son at such a young age already has that wisdom. I mean, that's amazing, and that must be from you, Michelle. You must have taught him that.
for him to say that, I'm like, that didn't come, he didn't pull that out of, out of the air. We've had these conversations. You don't sometimes even realize, what your kids are soaking up from you, in good ways and bad. And this was in one of those really good ways. He just, was so wise, like wise beyond his years. And the way he said it and the confidence he said it with and the confidence in me that he said it with was really, really special. So, that was a trust your gut moment that I had. Where again you have those, it's almost like it's going against intuition, right? Like
Right,
it's pushing against what you think is the right thing, like it seems right in the moment. Like what seemed right in the moment was just, pack, you got a 6 a.m. flight, you got to get out of here, you're stuck, you got to go.
right,
And I was like, but once I felt that, other possibilities opened up, right? It was like, once I really looked at what else can I do in this moment? Like if my gut is saying don't go, then then what? And then the then what's became more apparent and less cloudy. Um, and that was a cool thing. So I think what we want to do with this and where we want to leave listeners, we'd love to know kind of if anybody who's listening, if you've had a moment like this and what it was, and how have we learned, or have you learned to trust your gut, and what do you listen for, and what do you know how has that skill developed over time? Because for me, it's taken time to really, I would say probably over the last 10 years maybe, I've I've gotten much more confident in like in trusting it, you know, is what I would say. Um, does that resonate with you, Liz? Like that kind of idea of like it sort of builds over time, and we get better at it as time goes on.
yeah. I mean, I definitely think so. I will say that I've had a couple of moments, even when I was younger, where I don't know where I got the confidence to do something that I really had to sort of go with my gut, but I did. So, my quick example would be my very first job. I'm making like no money, and I'm 22 years old, right? My very first job. And I had gone to school at night for some advanced training and degree. And when I got my very first review with the managing partner of the law firm that I worked with, I was disappointed in the monetary increase that they gave me, because this advanced training was going to make me able to bill my time. So they were going to make money off of me. And I put forward that effort to get that training. And they gave me sort of a paltry increase. And I walked out of that office and I went to the ladies' room and I burst into tears. And I remember looking at myself in the mirror and I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, you have two choices. You can either swallow that increase, or you can pull yourself together and go back into the managing partner's office and tell him that you're disappointed and that you were expecting something larger. And you better know what that number is. This is the conversation I'm having in my head. And and I don't know where I got, because I am not a person that likes to have any sort of confrontation whatsoever, but I just knew I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I didn't stand up for myself. And I went in and I said, to Mark, I said, look, I really appreciate it. I appreciate the great review. But $1,500 just doesn't seem right to me. And I was thinking that I would be getting something more. And he said, well, what were you thinking? And I said, $3,000 to $5,000 increase. And he said, well, I've got to talk to the other partners and I will get back to you. And a couple of days later, he pulled me into his office and he said, we talked and we're going to give you a $3,000 increase. And that's where I learned lesson number 2. Make
No,
sure
that's
your low number is still the number you want.
exactly. That's fantastic.
But
Awesome.
I did not balk. I said, thank you very
Yep.
much. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it. And I walked away and I learned then that, you have to know your worth. If you're not being valued at your worth, go with your gut and, fight for yourself.
that's
And
awesome.
and I learned that lesson at 22 with my very first job.
See, the gut is still there when you're young. I maybe just takes it a little bit more as you get older. So that was awesome, Liz. So I think our message to everybody is, hey, do you trust your gut? And we would just love to hear your stories about trusting your gut. Um, and if you are willing to share with us, please send them to sparkmepodcast@gmail.com. And we'd love to read them and maybe even share them only with your permission. But we would just love to hear how you trusted your gut when you were young, if it's if you've trusted it even more as you get older, or if it's always been there. Whatever your stories are, please share them with us, and we hope you enjoyed this Spark Me Short.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your story, Michelle.
You too, Liz. Thanks so much.